So I'm gonna remove everything from here. To continue adding more examples, we're gonna check, for example, check if a variable has a value. So we're gonna add a score of 1000 and we're gonna add score. And we're gonna check if there is a score, we're gonna add console.log. We're gonna use template literals, yes, and the score is, and we're gonna add the $sign, curly braces, and we're gonna pass that score into this console.log. Else we're gonna add console.log, no score. So save this, and now you can see we have yes, and the score is 1000. If we remove this, and since this is a const, this is going to, well, it needs to requires a initial value, we're gonna change this to let. Save this, and now you can see we have no score. So using this if score, this is going to check if this variable has a value. There is another way that you can use. For example, if you can add if type of score is not undefined, it's going to be like this. You can see we have no score. So this is also another way. If the score is not undefined, because if you send this to the console.log type of score, you can see that this is actually undefined because this variable exists, but it doesn't have any value given. So let's review another, I'm gonna remove this, another comparison operator. So for example, we're gonna add something like let. Cash, we're going to add 500. Let, and we're gonna add cart total is going to be equals to 300, something like this. Then we're gonna add an if statement. If the cash is greater than the cart total, that means that we can pay. So we're gonna add console.log successful payment. Else, we're gonna add something like console.log, and we're gonna add insufficient funds. So save this, and you can see we have successful payment. So this is going to check if the cash, this variable number, is bigger than this cart total, then it's going to execute this line, successful payment. In the case that we have 600 in the cart total, that number is greater than the cash, and you can see that this condition is not met, so it's going to fall in the else statement, and it's going to print insufficient funds. You can also change the direction of this. You can add something like this, and in this case you can see that the cash is lower than the cart total. You need to swap this in order to make this sense. You can see if the cash is less than the cart total, we have insufficient funds. So for example, let's add 600 in both cases. You can see that we have successful payment. The cash lower than the cart total, you can see that this condition is not met because they are the same. So basically this is falling over here. In this case, we can also return this like this to make this sense. And you can see we have insufficient funds. But for example, you can see we have 600 and 600, so we can make the payment. You can add something here like equals. And this is going to check if the cart total is equal or greater than, then it's going to make the payment. Also, if you want to make something like this, you can add in the greater or equal than the cart total. So in this case, we are checking if the cash money that we have available is greater than or equal to the cart total, then you have to print the successful payment, and this is the result that we have here. So you can see that we have greater than, lower than, greater or equal, or lower or equal also. And for example, when you only have one line in your if statements, you can skip these braces. You can remove all of them, and the result is going to be the same. You can see we have successful payment. My recommendation is to always use them. This is going to make your code more cleaner, more organized, and I think it's a good habit to add the curly braces always when you have the if statements. But of course, that's a personal preference. So in the next video, we're going to introduce the use of the else if. Currently we have if, and this is going to check one condition. We can add something called the else if, which is going to check the if for one condition, or the else if is going to check for another condition. And then if the both conditions are not met, it's going to fall on the else statement. So let's review that in the next video.